Hey guys, welcome back to Tech Insights with Dylan White. One, as always, thank you for being here. As always, if you haven't subscribed, please do. It always helps. Secondly, we're on day 11 of our 25-day journey into the SC-900. We're on day, I think it's 14 now, of the actual 30-day journey. We started this journey off with the Microsoft Security 101. Went just into a really very 30,000 foot view. Now we're at the 20,000 foot view, just looking at Microsoft concepts. I'm prepping you guys for that SC-900 exam, which will help you guys understand Microsoft security concepts based on different Microsoft security solutions and capabilities. If you weren't here yesterday, we went through Microsoft Purview Compliance Manager, understood what is Compliance Manager and what service it provides, right? Compliance scores, different features, etc. Well, today we're diving into everything Microsoft Purview, information protection, data lifecycle management, etc. It'll be a really fun one. I'm doing several projects around this. I think every organization is looking at data. Data security will definitely be a very good niche for people, especially if you're coming from a analyst space. So let's get into it. All right, guys, welcome back. Today we're going to dive into everything Microsoft Purview information protection, again, data lifecycle management, data governance, and how you do it, right? So in this module, you should be able to describe data classification capabilities, records management, data loss prevention, and unified data governance. All right, so let's get into it. All right, Microsoft has the same, especially in the Microsoft Purview space. Know your data, protect your data, and then govern your data, right? Know, protect, and govern. Okay? So, Microsoft Purview information protection discovers, classifies, and protects sensitive, personal, business, critical content through its lifecycle across your organization. Okay? Provides the tools to know your data, protect your data, prevent data loss. Again, govern, right? Microsoft Purview Data Lifecycle Management helps you manage your content lifecycle using solutions to import, store, and classify business critical data so you can keep what you need, delete what you don't, right? It gives organizations the capabilities to govern their data for compliance or regulatory requirements. We talked a lot about Compliance Manager yesterday. Information protection and data lifecycle management work together to classify, protect, and govern your data where it lives and wherever it goes. Right? Again, know your data, protect your data to prevent data loss, and govern your data. Right? So know your data. Organizations can understand their data landscape and identify important data across data on premises, cloud, and hybrid environments, okay, including SaaS apps. Capabilities and tools such as trainable classifiers, Activity Explorer, and Content Explorer allow organizations to know their data. Now, protecting their data, right? Organizations can apply flexible protection across, including encryption, access restrictions, and visual markings, right? Preventing data loss, right? You can detect organizations can detect risky behavior and prevent accidental oversharing of sensitive information, such as data loss policy, endpoint data loss prevention, right? All kinds of different ways. And from governing your data, right? Organizations can automatically keep, delete, and store data and records in a compliant manner, right? Provides capabilities like retention policies, retention labels, and records management to govern data. Very straightforward. All right. What are the data classification capabilities? Okay. So it can be done manually by users, automated pattern recognition, and machine learning. Okay. Sensitive information types usually have a set of patterns that can be used to identify them, right? An ID number, right? Credit card numbers, passport, bank account, health service numbers, etc. Data classification in Microsoft Purview also supports the ability to create custom sensitive information types to address organization-specific requirements. Right? A very good example of this is some organizations randomize their employee ID. Right? It's your last name plus blah blah blah. Well, Purview allows you to create a custom one based on that. Right? It's called exact data matching, etc. Right? And you can create the custom sensitive information type and match the value based on a database. What are trainable classifiers, right? It uses artificial intelligence, machine learning to intelligently classify data, right? That allows you to classify unique data to your organization, like contracts, invoices, and customer records. Right? It's more about training the classifier to identify them based on what the item is, not by the elements that are in the item, right? Pattern matching. Two types of classifiers are, and you should know this, right? Well, there are the two types: pre-trained, right, which is Microsoft created, or custom trainable, your organization creates it. How do we understand or explore data? right? Involves large numbers of documents, emails, right? To help organizations understand this quickly, right? The number you can get the details at a glance through Content Explorer, right? Number of items classified as sensitive information, what they are, details on the location, the database sensitivity, and some of your actions users are taking on the sensitive content. What is Content Explorer, right? So it's at the very big data classification plane in the compliance portal and enables administrators to gain visibility into the content that has been summarized in the overview pane, right? You can list and then you can explore. Right, so Content Explorer, Content Viewer, right? You need two admin roles, right? What is Activity Explorer? So the different things you can do is you can see a file copied, you can see whether it's moved to a USB drive, a network share, whether it had label applies, right? And there's many different filters, whether it's location, user, sensitivity label, or retention label. Right? How do you explore data, right? There's a whole video here. Again, I'm not gonna play it. You can go watch the video. For me, if I'm studying for the test, I would know really what is the Activity Explorer, what the Content Explorer is, and then how organizations understand data, and then what are trainable classifiers and what is a sensitive information type. All right, what are sensitivity labels? Sensitivity labels enable and protect the content, right, without affecting productivity and collaboration. With sensitivity label, organizations can decide on labels to apply to content such as emails, documents, much like different stamps are applied to physical documents. Right? The labels are customizable, clear text, and persistent. Remember that. They can be configured to encrypt, to mark, and you can apply it automatically. Right? You can protect content in containers such as sites and groups, extend labels to third-party apps and services. You can also classify content without any protection settings. So here's an example of a label, right? This one is for the finance team, right? It's confidential, it's finance, right? It's got a description, it's got the what documents are there, so scope, files, and emails. It's encryption, it's got a content watermark, confidential financial data, right? And it automatically applies a label. What are label policies, right? So after labels are created, you can create a policy to publish the label to certain users, groups, etc. Right? So you would choose the users and groups to see the label, right? Where to apply the label, the justification for the label changes, right? If it is required to apply the label, right? And then you can link for custom help pages. So you can, as an organization, you can build documents to help users understand why they must label that document, etc. All right, what is data loss prevention? All right, so data loss prevention. Data loss can harm organization, customer, business processes, and the organization itself. Of course, most reason we see all these ransomwares and why it is, it's data loss, right? You've lost data and you've harmed the business reputation. Okay, so organizations need to prevent data loss by detecting risky behavior and protecting sensitive information from being shared inappropriately. In Microsoft Purview, you do this by implementing data loss prevention, right? By defining and applying DLP policies. The DLP policy you can identify, monitor, and automatically protect sensitive items across 365, Office applications, Windows 10, 11, and Mac OS. You can do cloud applications, on-premise file shares, on-premise SharePoint, and also Power BI. Right? So DLP will detect sensitive items using deep content analysis, not by just a text scan, right? It's analyzed for primary date matches for keywords, regex, right, otherwise known as regular expressions, internal function validation by secondary data matches. So what are protective actions, right? Show a pop-up for a policy tip, block the sharing and provide a policy tip, block the sharing without the override. For data at rest, sensitive items can be locked and moved to secure quarantine, right? For team chat, sensitive information won't be displayed. Right? What types of policy information, right? You can do, right? So predefined templates, you can create custom policies. They're all based the same though, right? So choose the type of data to monitor, choose the administrative scoping, choose the location of the policy to be applied, such as Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, Cloud, etc. You can choose the conditions that must be matched for policy to be applied, and choose a protective action. We're going to look at the policy right here. You can see, right, countries and regions, templates that are available, etc. Right? Choose a location, See, you have Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, Devices, Defender for Cloud Apps, on-premises, Power BI. Defender for Cloud Apps will then allow you to choose an application to extend it to. So what is Endpoint DLP? Right? Endpoint DLP allows you to audit and manage user activities, right, that take on sensitive items that are physically stored on Windows 10, 11, or Mac OS, right? Whether it's a created item, renaming an item, copying items to, again, USB drives, removable media, copying items to network shares, printing, accessing items using unallowed apps or browsers. You can see the data classification level across it. Data loss prevention in Teams, right? It extends to Teams chats, channels, whether it's in a message or a file, right? Private channels, just like Exchange, Outlook, SharePoint, OneDrive. You can use policy tips that'll be displayed so you can see why it wasn't there. Right? Here's a little web page, right? Etc. It's very straightforward, but so powerful. A lot of organizations are starting to roll it out. All right, what is retention policies and what are retention labels? Right? They help organizations manage and govern information by ensuring content is kept only for a required time and is permanently deleted. Applying retention labels and assigning retention policies help organizations comply proactively with industry regulations, reduce risk when there's litigation or a security breach, and ensure users work only with content that's relevant to them. So, these two retention actions, you can configure retention settings for the following outcomes, right? Retain, delete, retain, then delete. And content has retention settings assigned to it, the content remains in its original location. You can continue to work with documents if nothing's changed, etc. So the workloads that you can do retention on is SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, Viva, and Exchange. So what is a retention policy? They're used to assign the same retention settings to content on a site level or mailbox level. A single policy can be applied to multiple locations, to specific or users, right? And items inherit their retention settings from the container specified in the retention policy. Policies applied to keep content. The item is then moved outside the container. A copy of the item is kept in the workload's secure location. However, retention settings don't travel with the content to its new location. There's a little retention label. A retention label is used to assign retention settings at an item level, such as a folder, document, or email. An email document can only have a single retention label at a time. Retention settings for retention labels travel with the content to its move if it's moved to a different location within your Microsoft 365 tenant. All right, so different policies, the data doesn't travel. Retention labels, the data does travel. Retention label can be applied automatically if it matches definitions. A default label can be applied for SharePoint documents. Retention labels support disposition review to review the content before it's permanently deleted. So, simple scenarios: if all documents in a SharePoint site should be kept for 5 years, it's more efficient to do so with a retention policy and apply the same retention label to all documents in the site. However, some documents in a site should be kept for 5 years and others for 10. You need to apply policies to the SharePoint site with a retention period of 5 years. You then apply a label to the individual items with a retention setting of 10. So, for instance, if I have one document that's required of hold for 10 years, but 99 others that are on 3 years, but 3 years on the whole site and 10 on just that document. What is records management? Okay. Organizations of all types require management solutions to manage regulatory, legal, and business critical records across their corporate data. Microsoft Purview Records Management helps organizations look at their legal obligations. It also helps to demonstrate compliance with regulations, increase efficiency with regular disposition of items that are no longer required to be kept, no longer of value, or no longer required for business purposes. Records management includes many features, of which labeling content as a record, establishing retention and deletion policies, event-based retention, reviewing and validating disposition, proof of records deletion, exporting information about disposed items. When content is labeled as a record, the following happens, right? Restrictions are put in place to block certain activities, activities are logged, and proof of disposition is kept. You can see here just a couple of screenshots, right? But items such as documents and emails can be marked as records based on those retention labels. Items might be marked as records, but they can also be shown as regulatory records. Regulatory records provide other controls, such as the label can't be removed when items marked as a regulatory record. Retention periods can't be made shorter after the label has been applied. And there's a couple of documents for links, right? Common use cases of it are enable administrators to manually apply retention labels and deletion items, right? Automatically applying, enabling items to default retain and delete actions, enabling users to automatically apply retainers to the action on their Outlook. All right, we got one more. All right, what is the Microsoft Purview Unified Data Governance Solution? Okay, I'm going to go through the basically in a diagram. Okay, but the actual Purview governance portal, right? The unified governance provides a way for organizations to manage data on premises, multi-cloud, and SaaS data. Right? It allows you to create a holistic, up-to-date map of your data landscape with automated data discovery, sensitive data classification, and end-to-end data lineage. Right? Enable data curators to manage and secure the data estate, and empower data customers or consumers to find valuable, trustworthy data. Okay, so here in the diagram, you can see that we can manage on-premises, cloud, and SaaS applications inside the Microsoft Purview governance portal with consumers, the data officers, right, the data catalog, data sharing, data estate insights with data policy, all with a data map. Right? You can also see that data sharing is in preview. We can see all this across Azure Synapse, SQL Server, Power BI, Azure SQL Server, and Microsoft 365. Right? So what is a data map? It's the foundation for data discovery and data governance. Right? We can scan registered data sources. Data map is able to capture metadata about enterprise data to identify and classify sensitive data. Microsoft Purview supports Azure data sources with various data source categories, including databases, file storage, and apps, and services from third parties. Right? Data catalog allows business and technical users to quickly and easily find relevant data using search experience with filters based on various lenses like glossary terms, classifications, and sensitivity labels. And so the data catalog, you can search for an entire label. So if we have a label that says, again, confidential finance, we can use the data catalog and search quickly to see every single data piece attached to that label. Right? Data estate insights allows organizations like data officers, security officers can get a bird's eye view at a glance to understand what data is actively scanned, where it is, and how it moves. Right? The application provides actual insights into organization's data estate, catalog usage, adoption, and processes. Now, data policies, right? Set a central cloud-based experience to help you manage access to data sources and data sets securely and at scale. Right? Manage access to it, enable at-scale access provisioning, introducing a new data plane permission model. It's seamlessly integrated with Purview data map to catalog, and it's based on role definition. Right? So data policies, you have data owner policies, you have DevOps policies, and you have self-service data access policies. Now, data sharing is in Purview, but its goal is to be able to securely share data both in or across organizations with business partners and customers, right? How you share and receive data with just a few clicks. Data providers can simply manage and monitor data sharing relationships and revoke sharing at any time. Data consumers can access receive data with their own analytics tools and turn data into insights. A good example of this is maybe where you have a few trust relationships set up, and maybe you're sharing data to a vendor, but maybe that vendor just had a security breach. So we cut off that supply chain, we're no longer sharing data with them. And so we can just whack all the data that's tied to our organization, and then let them go through what they're going through, and reestablish once the trust is back. All right, so that's it. Microsoft Purview, data governance. There's a lot in there. If you guys are interested in data governance, please let me know. We can do a whole spiel on it. It's an area that I'm probably going to dive into further later this year as well. So let's do a knowledge check. Let's see if we're going to, make it day 4 with perfect scores. Okay. Which part of the concept of know your data, protect your data, and prevent data loss, and govern your data addresses the need for organizations to retain, delete, store data and records in a compliant manner? Is it know, prevent, or govern? This one is going to be govern, right? Regulations is govern. Okay. As part of a new data loss prevention policy, the compliance admin needs to be able to identify important information, such as credit cards numbers across the organization's data. How can the admin address this requirement? Since it's information type, labels, or activity explorer. So if we need to see the actual data, right? We're not seeing activity, right? So we're not seeing where the files are going. Not going to be that sensitive information label, which you apply. And the information type is that credit card. Okay. Within the organization, some emails are confidential and some should be encrypted so that only authorized users can access them. How can this requirement be implemented? Is it going to be Content Explorer, records management, or sensitivity labels? Remember, we want to apply encryption, right? So for this one, we're going to do sensitivity label. We can label that email alone, right? The organization uses Microsoft Teams to collaborate on all projects. The compliance admin wants to prevent users from accidentally sharing sensitive information in a Teams chat session. What capability can address this requirement? Use data loss prevention policies, use records management capabilities, or use retention policies. So remember, compliance, right? Accidentally sharing sensitive information, right? So sensitive information type, right? What's that going to be? Is it going to be a record? Is it going to be a retention policy? Or is it going to be data loss? It's going to be data loss. It's a weird one because it's not technically losing data. That's how that policy can be applied. Right, due to regulation, your organization must now keep hold of all documents in a specific SharePoint site that contains customer information for 5 years. How can this requirement be implemented? Is it sensitivity label? Is it content explorer? Or is it retention policies? Hopefully you guys got that right. It's retention policies. Which application in the Purview governance portal is used to capture metadata about enterprise data to identify and classify sensitive data? Identify and classify. Right? Identify and classify. Is it data estate insights? Is it a data map or is it data catalog? For me, this is probably the hardest question. I think it's a data map. Let's see. Did we get any wrong? And again, 100%. Again, guys, data is very difficult. I will never lie to you. Data is probably one of the more difficult realms. There's some questions that are doozies, especially in the wording. That last one was one of those. You just have to remember the answer is usually in the question itself. Go back, look through it a couple times. Remember, SC-900 is very concept-based, not too crazy. Remember, we only have 2 modules left, guys. 2 modules left, then we're wrapped it up. We're going to start taking practice assessments. We're going to do a couple of lives and get into it. But this is everything you need to know about Microsoft Purview Unified Data Governance. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you for being here and see you guys tomorrow.